Yo, what's up with it? I just want to talk a little history understanding of just because you're Mexican, you're not Mayan or Aztec, the Meshica people. And also, Aztec is a sketchy name. So Aztec, being a sketchy name, people say if you don't know the story, the Mexica tribe once lived where New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas is at. And they traveled down hundreds of years to where they landed to what now is known as Mexico City. So they were known as the Noha people from Aztlan. And they traveled down and they became the Mexico people. That's who they were known as and promoted themselves as when Hernan Cortez and his Spanish crew uh, came upon them. And also, they were a part of a triple alliance. They were the head group, the head main tribe line of the two other tribes that clicked up and made a huge empire, which is promoted as the Aztec Empire. So those other two tribes didn't even call themselves Mexicos or Mexicans. They were able to keep their own label of tribe name, and so they were not all the Aztecs. That's the thing about it. But a guy named Alexander von Humboldt, he's the one of the ones who started promoting the name Aztec in the early 19th century, I believe, maybe. And another guy years later, after his work, named Patrick, he started promoting the name Aztec again. And scholars like that name instead of promoting them as the Noha people, who they were known as, that lived in Aztlan. So the Mexico people that live in Mexico, they didn't mind this. From what I read, they didn't care if the name was not truly correct. They just liked that they were being promoted and being recognized, from what I've understand from reading. And also, there's only one thing that I could find where someone said that they were known as that they called themselves the Aztecs, but it wasn't written still till after a lot of them were dead, till the story started getting written, years later. So it's just a sketchy name. They were the Noha people that spoke Nohawa. That kind of makes sense. You're Russian, you speak Russian. You're Chinese, you speak Chinese. They were the Noha people that spoke Nohawa. And, Aztec just seemed more cooler to scholars, and they voted, and that name got promoted. But even on that, why wouldn't you just call them the Mexica people, who that was the last name of label of who they were promoting themselves as? That's who Hernan Cortez, when he came and conquered them, known them as. That's why Mexico was named after them, Mexico, the Mexico state. And also they were a part of a triple alliance, as some people don't understand. They teamed up with two other tribes, which those two other tribes kept their own name. They did not take the Mexica name or the Aztec name. They did not the whole nation, what is known as Mexico, they were not all Aztecs. That's what people think. People think just because you're Mexican, that's your tribe, automatically Aztecs. I seen it. That's what I assumed before I got knowledge. When I see other people's DNAs from who are Mexicans, they say that's the Aztec, is the native. No, that's wrong. You're not automatically Mayan or Mexica just because you're Mexican. There was like 70 other tribes in that area, and like many different dialects of language at the same time. So Aztecs is just a sketchy name. And it's just the whole thing with our people of just our culture and our identity just all over the place. How like talk about Latino and Hispanic, and now Aztec. You know, all of our culture and identity is just sketchy, and we need to understand it the right way, and other people need to understand it the right way. So Aztec is not really a true name. It's sketchy. Just call them the Meshica tribe. Why did you have to go out and change the whole name to Aztec anyways? Is what I don't get, why those scholars did that. But I just figure at the same time it's because if they promoted them as the Meshica tribe line, it would have been more related. People would understand their culture more of them being Mexican, coming from the word Mexico. So, you know, and supposedly, you know, understanding how Mexico always been ran mostly by criollos, so they probably didn't care about the Aztecs being promoted in that name instead of the Mexica name or the Noha people. And also, you know, there were 70 other tribes, like I'm saying, so not that doesn't automatically make you Aztec. And also, you know, the Mexica people were killed by smallpox and slaughtered in war by the enemies who allied with Hernan Cortez, is what some people don't even know. That you know, after they won and Hernan Cortez, he named Mexico City what it is, the Allies did not like that. They didn't really accept that. Why would you name the city after the people who re-destroyed, who you wanted to conquer, you know, re-teamed up with you? Why wouldn't you name it after us? But I also did a little reading, and it was an easier word for Hernan Cortez to pronounce. The Mexica, anybody could pronounce Mexica. That's a Nohawa word. I could pronounce it, anybody could pronounce that. And there's a little thing that he got a real close relationship with King Montezuma, the head leader from the Mexica tribe, that he probably had a little bond with them, and also, you know, possibly could have did it in his remembrance, you know, called them the Mexico City. So, you know, I just wanted to get that understanding out there. And also that, you know, this used to be Mexico. Like I was saying, Texas, California, Arizona, New Mexico, it was all part of Mexico State. And, you know, people who lived there, they became Mexican at the same time. People adapted that nationality, and, you know, so some people kept that label of being Mexican, even if they weren't even from the heart of Mexico, or down more of that nation of what Mexico is what some people don't, you know, seem to think about. You know, like my family, is not all from Mexico. You know, my great-grandfather was a part of the Apache tribe. He was born in Tijuana. You know, that's barely a part of Mexico. You know, that was never a part of the Mexica tribe, barely. And my great-grandmother was born in Colorado. So, you know, I gotta find out where their parents were from. They could have lived here when this was Mexico. I also know that when this country was starting, when Europeans started coming over here, my aunt told me that we have records of our grandmother from her mother's side was a native woman, a part of a tribe in the East Coast, and she got with a white French man. And so obviously, if we started off in when the Americas were starting, that's one family tree line where we could pinpoint to where it starts off in the East Coast. And obviously, somehow the bloodline traveled and we became Mexican. Somehow now she took on, our family tree line took on the Mexican label. She was a native woman from the East Coast who got with a French man, and now our family tree ended up in Mexico and being labeled Mexicans and speaking Spanish. So that's pretty interesting too. So that I just wanted to get that out there. Just because you're Mexican, that doesn't automatically mean you're part of the Aztec tribe. Remember, there were 70 other tribes in that area besides the Mayans and the Mexicans, and the Mexicos were a part of a triple alliance, and the Mexico people were mostly killed for anybody even to be a part of the bloodline. And you gotta find out where your family tree starts. So like, I know my family tree root doesn't start in Mexico. While, it depends, they say everyone came down from Canada down. But within the last generations, my grandparents, one side is not barely from the heart of Mexico. I know my dad's side, my great grandparents were both from northern Mexico, and one side obviously traveled from the East Coast and became Mexican. So, I wanted to get that understanding out there and give people a little thought, because ever since I took my test and found out that I'm a part of the native people, other people just assume that you're Aztec, that's who we are. And no, that's not who we just are. Understand the tree line of your people would be the best way, and understand the history of the whole people, that there is not just one tribe that identifies Mexico, the Mexico people. And a lot of people don't even like to be called Mexico or care to be a part of the Mexico tribe. From what I've been learning, some people can pinpoint and know what tribes they are, and some people don't care to be a part of the Mexicos because of how ruthless they were at the same time. So there's a little understanding from that. It's just all, just the point is, what I like to get across is how our culture and identity of people is sketchy and all over the place, and we need to organize it and understand who we are. Peace.